Ladies, let's have a heart-to-heart. Have you ever found yourself questioning where you stand in a relationship? You're replaying old conversations, analysing his every word and action, searching for answers that seem just out of reach. Maybe he used to plan dreamy weekends with you, and now it feels like pulling teeth just to get a simple text back. It's frustrating, isn't it? Worse yet, it's confusing. The truth is, when a man is emotionally done, he rarely says it outright. Instead, his actions start to whisper what his words won't admit. But here's the kicker. These whispers often feel so subtle that you second-guess yourself. You convince yourself you're overthinking, being too sensitive, or, God forbid, needy. Stop right there. The problem? Most women don't recognize the signs until it's too late, wasting time and energy trying to save something that's already slipping away. And this isn't about blame, it's about awareness. When you learn to spot these 6 undeniable signs early, you reclaim your power, you take control, because high-value women don't beg, chase, or settle. In this video, I'm going to unveil the 6 signs he is done with you. 6 powerful truths that may sting but will empower you to see your relationship clearly. These aren't just observations, they're tools for transformation, rooted in stoicism and the kind of inner strength that defines high-value women. So, grab a coffee, a journal, or just a moment of focus, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you approach love. And trust me, the last sign, it's the one you won't want to miss. 1. He stops talking about the future together. Have you noticed it? The slow, almost imperceptible disappearance of we from his vocabulary. It used to be everywhere. We should try that new restaurant. We could travel to Europe next summer. Or even, what if we moved in together someday? These were the conversations that painted your shared future in vibrant colours. They weren't just words, they were promises, hopes, and dreams wrapped in casual chats. But now, silence. He's no longer dreaming aloud with you. Instead, the dialogue has shifted. I've been thinking about starting that new project. I might take a solo trip next month. It's subtle at first, isn't it? Almost easy to miss. But don't let the subtlety fool you. It's the sound of emotional distance creeping in. Here's the hard truth. When a man stops envisioning a future with you, he's emotionally detaching. He's no longer aligning his plans with yours. And while it might feel like a phase or a passing mood, it's often a deeper sign that he's mentally stepping away from the relationship. But don't give up. But here's the question. Are you holding on to the memories of how things used to be, hoping they'll magically return? Are you ignoring the glaring signs in front of you because it's easier than facing the uncomfortable truth? Let me tell you a story. I once had a friend, let's call her Emma, who was in a relationship that seemed perfect on the surface. Her boyfriend Matt was charming, ambitious, and loved making big plans. They'd talk for hours about their someday, the places they'd visit, the dog they'd adopt, the life they'd build together. But over time, Emma started noticing changes. Matt stopped including her in his plans. Suddenly, the weekend trips they'd dreamed of turned into solo getaways for him. He'd mention new career opportunities without ever asking for her opinion. And worst of all, he seemed unbothered by how distant they'd become. Emma brushed it off, thinking he was just busy. But deep down, she felt the shift. The quiet unraveling of their shared future. When she finally confronted him, his answer was brutally simple. I don't see us working out long term. The truth had been there all along. Emma just wasn't ready to see it. Here's the lesson. Ignoring these signs doesn't delay the inevitable. It only prolongs your pain. High-value women understand that when a man stops talking about the future, it's not a misstep, it's a message. And let's be real. When a man starts focusing solely on his solo path, what's left for you? The whispers of Dark Stoic Psychology remind us that emotional detachment doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds slowly, quietly, until the distance becomes undeniable. So, what should you do if you see this happening? First, stop chasing the someday that he's no longer offering. Instead, pivot your focus inward. Ask yourself, am I clinging to the idea of him rather than the reality of us? Do his actions align with the vision of a partner I truly deserve? What would it look like to reclaim my power and prioritize myself? Ladies, here's the truth. If he's not including you in his dreams, it's time to dream bigger without him. Because high-value women don't settle for breadcrumbs. They feast on their worth, their growth, and their unshakable self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is Stoicism in action, letting go of what you can't control and choosing to walk away with grace and dignity. Now let me ask you, have you noticed this shift in your relationship? If so, what are you going to do about it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because we're just getting started. And trust me, the next sign? It's one you've likely felt but maybe didn't fully understand. 2. His responses become short and distant. You know that sinking feeling you get when you pour your heart into a message and all you get back is, "Okay," or worse, the dreaded read receipt without a reply? It's not just frustrating, it's soul-crushing. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, and when his responses shift from thoughtful and engaging to short and dismissive, it's a sign that something has changed. Let's rewind for a moment. Think about how things were in the beginning. The texts flowed effortlessly, didn't they? Long conversations that stretched into the night, emojis that perfectly captured your inside jokes, and thoughtful replies that made you feel seen, valued, and understood. But now, every text feels like pulling teeth. You find yourself typing paragraphs, crafting questions to spark a response, and his replies, one word, maybe two if you're lucky. But here's the kicker, it's not just the length of his responses, it's the energy behind them. Where there was once enthusiasm, there's now apathy. And the worst part? That little voice in your head starts whispering, "Am I asking for too much?" Ladies, the answer is no. You're not asking for too much, you're asking the wrong person. When a man starts giving you short, distant replies, it's not just about him being busy or distracted. It's often a sign that he's emotionally checked out. But why does it hurt so much? Because communication isn't just about words, it's about connection. And when that connection starts to fade, it leaves you feeling isolated and unsure of where you stand. Let me tell you a story. One of my clients, Mia, experienced this firsthand. She was dating a man who, in the beginning, seemed perfect. She also noticed a change, a fight between the two of them, which left her rushing and overwhelmed, deteriorating into depression. She doubted her flirtation and even mentally and physically fell out of the relationship. At first, it was subtle. Responses that used to come within minutes now took hours. Then, the content of his messages started to change. The emojis disappeared, the questions stopped, and his replies became cold and transactional. Mia found herself overanalyzing every interaction, wondering if she had done something wrong. She decided to confront him, but his answer was vague. "I've just been busy." Yet, deep down, Mia knew the truth. His emotional investment was waning. She tried harder, sending thoughtful texts and trying to reignite their conversations. But the more she tried, the more distant he became. Eventually, Mia made a decision. Instead of chasing his attention, she redirected her energy inward. She stopped initiating conversations, stopped pouring her heart into one-sided exchanges, and started focusing on her own happiness. And guess what? When she finally walked away, she realized how much of her power she had been giving away. So, what does this mean for you? If his responses have become short and distant, it's time to stop chasing the connection that no longer exists. This isn't about playing games or trying to win him back. It's about recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. High-value women don't beg for attention. They command it. But let me ask you this. Are you currently pouring your energy into someone who isn't reciprocating? Are you holding on to the hope that things will return to how they used to be? If so, it's time to shift your focus. Here's what you can do. Stop initiating conversations. If he wants to talk, let him come to you. Observe his behavior. Does he make an effort to connect, or does he continue to pull away? Reflect on your needs. Are you being valued and respected, or are you settling for breadcrumbs? The truth is, short and distant replies aren't just about communication, they're about priorities. And if you're not at the top of his, it's time to make yourself your priority. As the principles of Dark Stoic Psychology remind us, you can't control how someone else feels or acts, but you can control how you respond. Instead of chasing someone who's pulling away, use that energy to strengthen yourself. Reclaim your time, your focus, and your confidence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This is where Stoicism comes into play. Stop filling your mind with doubts about why he's distant and start filling it with affirmations of your worth. Because the truth is, when you stop chasing, you make room for someone who won't make you feel like you have to. Now, here's my challenge for you. If this part resonates with you, like this video and comment number 1 to let me know you're ready to prioritize yourself. And if you're ready to dive deeper into becoming the high-value woman you're meant to be, hit subscribe so you never miss out on these empowering insights. We're just getting started, and trust me, the next sign is one that will truly hit home. Don't go anywhere, because you're about to uncover even more truths that could change everything. Let's keep going. 3. He avoids spending time with you. Let's paint a picture. Every time you suggest spending time together, he suddenly becomes the busiest man alive. He's swamped at work, has last-minute plans with friends, or, my favorite, needs a day to recharge. But here's the thing. When someone truly values you, they make time, not excuses. When a man starts avoiding time with you, it's not just a scheduling conflict. It's a shift in priorities. You're no longer at the center of his attention, and, deep down, you can feel it. The plans that used to excite him now feel like obligations he'd rather escape. And each excuse chips away at the connection you once shared. But here's the question. Are you paying attention to the patterns? Or are you writing them off as temporary? Let me share a story. Sophia had been dating her boyfriend Jake for nearly a year. In the beginning, Jake couldn't get enough of her. Date nights were sacred, weekends were spent exploring the city, and even weeknights were sprinkled with surprise visits and calls. But over time, things changed. It started with small cancellations, a dinner rescheduled here, a movie night postponed there. Then the excuses became more frequent. "I'm just exhausted this week. Work's crazy right now. Let's catch up soon." Sophia tried to be understanding. She told herself that everyone gets busy and that it was just a phase. But the phase didn't end. Weeks turned into months, and Sophia realized that she was the only one putting effort into their time together. When she confronted Jake, his response was dismissive. "It's not that I don't want to see you. I'm just really focused on other things right now." Translation: "You're no longer a priority." Sophia's story isn't unique. So many women find themselves in this position, holding on to memories of what the relationship used to be and hoping that effort will one day return. But here's the truth. When someone wants to spend time with you, they don't let anything get in the way. And when they don't, their actions speak volumes. And now let's dive deeper. Avoiding time together isn't just about being busy, it's about emotional withdrawal. Think about it. Time is one of the most valuable things we have. It's finite, precious, and a direct reflection of what matters most to us. When he stops making time for you, it's a signal that his feelings have shifted. And I know what you're thinking. What if I try harder, plan more exciting dates, make things easier for him? But let me ask you this. Do you want to spend your energy convincing someone to want to be with you? Or would you rather be with someone who chooses you without hesitation? This is where Dark Stoic Psychology offers clarity. It teaches us that clinging to what's slipping away only drains your emotional resources. Instead of chasing after his attention, focus on what you can control: your reaction, your boundaries, and your self-respect. How can you recognize this pattern early? Excuses become predictable. His reasons for cancelling plans sound rehearsed, almost as if he's waiting for you to ask. Minimal effort to reschedule. When plans fall through, he doesn't try to make up for it. There's no follow-up, no "let's try again tomorrow." A shift in initiative. You're the one always reaching out, suggesting plans and keeping the connection alive. When these signs start stacking up, it's time to stop and reflect. The problem isn't your effort, it's his lack of reciprocation. So, what's the solution? A high-value woman doesn't beg for attention or force a connection. She observes, assesses, and acts accordingly. If he's avoiding time with you, it's time to prioritize yourself. Focus on your passions, your growth, and the people who genuinely value your presence. Here's a powerful truth. You deserve someone who sees spending time with you as a privilege, not a chore. Someone who doesn't just fit you into their schedule, but makes you a part of it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of stoicism in relationships. You can't control how someone else values their time, but you can decide how you respond to being devalued. Ladies, when you notice him avoiding time with you, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away or try to fix it. Instead, step back and ask yourself, am I holding on to a version of him that no longer exists? How does this relationship make me feel about myself? What would happen if I shifted my focus from him to me? The truth is, when a man starts pulling away, it's not an invitation to try harder. It's a reminder to evaluate whether this relationship is truly serving you. Because high-value women don't waste their time, they invest it wisely. The next time he avoids your plans or makes an excuse, take it as an opportunity to redirect your energy. Spend that time doing something you love, nurturing friendships, or working on a personal goal. Show him and yourself that your time is too valuable to be spent on someone who doesn't appreciate it. Because the right man, he won't just make time for you, he'll cherish it. 4. He stops initiating conversations. It starts with silence. That once familiar rhythm of your phone lighting up with his texts has slowed, then stopped altogether. No more random messages to brighten your day, no more inside jokes popping up at midnight, and no more spontaneous "I was just thinking about you" notes. Instead, there's a growing void, one that feels colder with each passing day. At first, you might not even notice it. You convince yourself that he's just busy or distracted. Life gets hectic, right? But as days turn into weeks, the absence becomes impossible to ignore. And that's when the questions creep in. Is something wrong? Did I do something to push him away? Let's cut through the confusion. When a man stops initiating conversations, it's not just about him being busy or preoccupied. It's often a deeper, unspoken sign that his emotional investment is waning. Communication is the heartbeat of any relationship, and when he stops showing up for that, it's time to pay attention. But why does this happen? Sometimes it's as simple as shifting priorities. When a man is deeply engaged and interested, he makes an effort without excuses. The excitement of sharing his day, hearing about yours, or simply staying connected fuels his desire to reach out. But when his feelings start to fade, so does the drive to initiate those moments of connection. And here's the hard truth. When a man pulls back in communication, he's often creating emotional distance, even if he doesn't realize it. It's not necessarily malicious, but it is telling. A story for perspective. Claire had been dating Alex for 6 months, and at first everything felt effortless. They'd talk for hours, text throughout the day, and share even the smallest details of their lives. Alex was the first to text good morning and the last to wish her good night. But over time, Claire noticed a change. The good morning texts became sporadic, then stopped entirely. Their long conversations dwindled into short, surface-level exchanges, and eventually Claire realized she was always the one reaching out. When she stopped texting to see if he would, the silence was deafening. When Claire finally brought it up, Alex's response was vague. I don't know, I've just had a lot on my mind. While his words were non-committal, his actions spoke volumes. He had checked out emotionally, leaving Claire in a one-sided relationship where she was doing all the work to keep the connection alive. What does this mean for you? When a man stops initiating conversations, it's a sign that his emotional energy is elsewhere. And while it's natural to want to fix it, to rekindle the spark, the truth is, chasing someone who's pulling away only deepens the imbalance. This is where Dark Stoic Psychology offers wisdom. Instead of reacting emotionally or trying to force a response, take a step back. Observe his behavior, reflect on the dynamic, and decide how you want to proceed. Ask yourself, am I the only one keeping this connection alive? If you're constantly the one reaching out, it's time to reassess. Relationships thrive on mutual effort, not one-sided persistence. How does his lack of communication make me feel? Are you left feeling anxious, unappreciated, or unsure of where you stand? Those feelings matter. Is this a pattern or a momentary lapse? Everyone gets busy, but if his silence has become the norm rather than the exception, it's a clear signal of emotional withdrawal. What should you do? First, stop initiating. Give him the space to show you where he stands. If he values the connection, he'll notice your absence and make an effort to bridge the gap. If he doesn't, that tells you everything you need to know. Second, redirect your energy. Instead of fixating on his silence, focus on yourself. Nurture your passions, spend time with friends, and remind yourself of your worth. Because here's the truth. Your value isn't determined by someone else's attention or lack thereof. Finally, embrace the wisdom of Stoicism. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You can't control whether he chooses to reach out, but you can control how you respond. Choose dignity, self-respect, and a commitment to your own happiness. The bigger picture. When a man stops initiating conversations, it's not just about texting. It's about connection, effort, and emotional presence. And while it's easy to fall into the trap of overanalyzing or blaming yourself, remember this. A high-value woman doesn't chase. She observes, evaluates, and acts with clarity. When you find yourself wondering why he hasn't texted or called, ask a more important question. Why am I spending my time waiting for someone who isn't meeting me halfway? You deserve someone who sees communication as a joy, not a chore. Someone who doesn't just respond, but initiates. And if that's not what you're experiencing, it's time to make a choice. Stay in a dynamic that drains you, or step into the power of your own worth. Because the right man? He won't leave you questioning. He'll make sure you know exactly where you stand. And that certainty, it's what every high-value woman deserves. 5. He becomes disengaged in physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is more than just touch. It's a reflection of emotional closeness, a way of expressing love, passion, and connection without words. So, what does it mean when that spark starts to fade? When his kisses feel routine, his hugs lack warmth, or he simply stops reaching out for you the way he used to? Let's be honest, it's a tough reality to face. But when a man becomes disengaged in physical intimacy, it's often a sign of something deeper. Emotional distance. You can feel the shift, can't you? The once electric chemistry now feels forced, or, worse, absent altogether. Here's the truth. Physical distance is rarely just about exhaustion or stress. While those factors play a role, consistent disengagement in intimacy signals that the connection has weakened. He might not be saying it out loud, but his actions are speaking volumes. And as painful as it is, ignoring this sign only leads to more confusion and heartache. Let me tell you a story. Jessica and her boyfriend Ryan had always shared a passionate connection. Physical intimacy wasn't just a part of their relationship, it was a cornerstone of how they bonded and expressed their feelings. But over time, things began to change. At first, Ryan became less affectionate. The spontaneous hugs and playful kisses stopped, replaced by a cool distance. When Jessica tried to initiate intimacy, Ryan often brushed her off, claiming he was too tired or not in the mood. She told herself it was just a phase, that he was stressed with work and needed space. But the phase didn't end. Instead, it deepened. Ryan's disengagement in physical intimacy left Jessica feeling rejected, confused, and insecure. She started wondering if there was something wrong with her, if she wasn't attractive enough, desirable enough, or worthy enough. When Jessica finally confronted Ryan, his response was vague. "I just don't feel the same way anymore." His physical withdrawal had been a symptom of something bigger. He was emotionally checking out of the relationship. So, what does this mean for you? If your partner has become disengaged in physical intimacy, it's time to stop blaming yourself. This isn't about your worth, your attractiveness, or your efforts. It's about the state of the connection. And while it's natural to want to fix it, to try harder, the truth is that intimacy can't be forced. Here's where Dark Stoic Psychology comes into play. It teaches us to detach from what we can't control and focus on what we can. Instead of internalizing his withdrawal, use it as a mirror to reflect on the relationship. Is this dynamic fulfilling your needs? Are you giving more than you're receiving? Does his disengagement align with how a high-value woman deserves to be treated? What can you do? Communicate clearly. Don't tiptoe around the issue. Address the changes in intimacy directly, but without blame or desperation. Use I statements like, "I've noticed we're less physically connected lately, and I'd like to understand why." Observe his response. Is he open to discussing it, or does he shut down? Does he acknowledge the shift, or does he deflect? His reaction will tell you a lot about where he stands. Reclaim your power. If he's unwilling or unable to meet you halfway, it's time to redirect your energy. Intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional, mental, and spiritual. Start pouring that energy into yourself, your passions, and your well-being. Remember, physical intimacy is about more than just physical touch. It's about connection, vulnerability, and shared emotions. When that fades, it's a signal that the relationship might need a closer look. And while it's painful to face, it's also an opportunity to prioritize your own needs and boundaries. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is the essence of Stoicism in relationships. You can't control whether he chooses to re-engage in intimacy, but you can control how you respond to his actions. Ladies, let me ask you this. Have you noticed a shift in your partner's physical affection? Are you questioning whether the connection is as strong as it once was? If this resonates, take a moment to reflect on what you deserve. And remember, the right partner won't leave you feeling neglected. If this part of the video struck a chord with you, like this video and comment number 1 to let me know. And if you're ready to dive deeper into understanding relationships, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the insights that could transform your love life. Trust me, the next sign? It's the one that will truly shift your perspective. Stay tuned because we're uncovering truths that every high-value woman must know. 6. He spends more time distracted when he's around you. Have you ever been in a room with someone but felt completely invisible? You're sitting right next to him, but his attention is locked on his phone, a game, or anything other than you. The moments that once felt filled with connection and laughter are now replaced by awkward silences and the constant sound of notifications. It's as if he's physically present but emotionally absent. Distraction has become his new language, and it's loud. At first, you might brush it off. Everyone scrolls their phone occasionally, right? But as it happens more and more, a sinking realization sets in. He's choosing the distractions over you. And when someone consistently chooses something else over your presence, it's not just a bad habit, it's a sign. What does this behavior really mean? When a man spends more time distracted around you, it signals a deeper emotional withdrawal. It's not just that he's busy or loves technology, it's about priorities. Distractions, whether it's a phone, video games, or even endlessly scrolling social media, often serve as escapes. They allow him to avoid facing what's right in front of him. The connection that's slipping away. Here's the hard truth. When a man values your presence, he cherishes it. He doesn't let a screen or a meaningless distraction take precedence. And when he does, it's a sign that something has shifted. Let me tell you a story. Cara was dating Mark, a guy who seemed like the perfect partner at first. He was attentive, engaging, and always fully present when they spent time together. But after a year, Cara noticed a change. Their once vibrant date nights started feeling flat. Mark would sit across from her, scrolling his phone, barely acknowledging the conversation. At first, Cara thought it was just a phase. Maybe work was stressing him out, or he was just tired, but it didn't stop. Over time, it got worse. Mark's attention drifted, even during moments that used to be special. Birthdays, movie nights, even intimate conversations. Nothing seemed to hold his focus anymore. When Cara finally addressed it, Mark brushed it off. It's not a big deal, I'm just relaxing. But Cara knew better. His distractions weren't just about relaxation, they were his way of disengaging from the relationship. And while it broke her heart, Kara realized she deserved someone who would choose her over a screen every time. What should you look out for? His phone becomes a barrier. He's constantly checking messages, scrolling social media, or watching videos when you're together. The screen isn't just a device, it's a wall between you. Conversations feel half-hearted. Even when you're talking, his responses are distracted, delayed, or absent altogether. Moments lose their spark. The activities you once enjoyed together now feel hollow because his focus is elsewhere. What can you do when someone is distracted around you? It's easy to fall into the trap of trying harder, being more interesting, planning better dates, or doing whatever you can to regain their attention. But here's the truth. A high-value woman doesn't compete with distractions. She observes and takes action based on what she sees. Step 1. Address it calmly. You don't need to accuse or blame, simply state what you've noticed. I feel like we're not as connected lately. When we're together, I'd love for us to really be present with each other. Step 2. Observe his response. Does he acknowledge the issue or does he dismiss it? A man who values you will recognize the impact of his behavior and work to change it. A man who doesn't, he'll double down on excuses. Step 3. Prioritize your own connection. If he continues to disengage, take a step back and focus on yourself. Surround yourself with people and activities that energize and uplift you. You deserve to feel seen, heard, and valued. Here's the bigger picture. The constant distractions aren't just about his behavior, they're about your boundaries. Are you willing to accept being sidelined in your own relationship? Or will you choose to step into your worth and demand the kind of presence and attention you deserve? This is where Dark Stoic Psychology offers clarity. It reminds us that we can't control how someone else prioritizes their time, but we can control how we react to it. Instead of chasing his attention, focus on creating a life where you're surrounded by people who value and cherish your presence. As Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." Shift your perspective. His distractions are not a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of his priorities. And if his priorities no longer align with yours, it's time to re-evaluate. Ask yourself, am I accepting less than I deserve? How does his lack of attention make me feel about myself and our relationship? What would it look like to let go of trying to compete for someone's focus? The truth is, a man who values you won't make you feel invisible. He won't let a screen, a game, or any other distraction steal his attention when he's with you. And if he does, that's a clear sign it's time to step back and redirect your energy towards someone or something that truly sees and appreciates you. Because the right man, he'll always choose you every single time. So there you have it, 6 undeniable signs that he's emotionally checked out of the relationship. It's not easy to face these truths, but awareness is the first step toward transformation. When a man starts showing these signs, it's no longer about him. It's about you, your self-worth, your boundaries, your ability to recognize when it's time to let go. Here's the thing, high-value women don't chase, beg, or settle. They observe, reflect, and act with purpose. They understand that their time, energy, and love are precious, and they won't waste them on someone who doesn't reciprocate. But let me ask you this, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you holding on to someone who no longer sees your worth? Are you pouring your energy into trying to fix something that feels broken? Or are you ready to step into your power and prioritize yourself? The teachings of Stoicism remind us that we can't control others, only ourselves. It's not about blaming him or even yourself. It's about understanding the reality of the situation and choosing to move forward with grace and dignity. You don't need to beg for a place in someone's life. If they can't see your value, that's their loss, not yours. Here's what I want you to take away. If he stops initiating conversations, you don't chase him. You step back and let his actions, or lack of them, speak for themselves. If he avoids spending time with you, you don't make excuses for him. You recognize the pattern and choose not to settle for someone who won't prioritize you. If he becomes disengaged in physical intimacy, you don't blame yourself. You reflect on whether this dynamic truly fulfills your needs. If he stops talking about the future with you, you stop clinging to the past. You look forward and create a future where you're valued, loved, and respected. The power of Dark Stoic Psychology lies in its ability to help you detach from what no longer serves you. It's about cultivating strength from within, so no external situation can shake your foundation. This is your time to reclaim your energy, focus on your growth, and embrace the fact that you deserve more. Now, let me ask you one final question. Are you ready to take control of your love life, to step into your worth and create the kind of relationship you truly deserve? If you're nodding right now, don't stop here. Reflect on what you've learned, share your thoughts, and use these lessons to guide your next steps. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we're building a community of high-value women who refuse to settle for anything less than what we're worth. Thank you for joining me today. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear these truths. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the insights that can change your life. Let's keep growing, empowering, and transforming because you deserve nothing less. Until next time, stay strong, stay radiant, and never forget your worth.